Good morning, partners and colleagues. I hope everyone has been keeping safe, healthy, and well. I am Ivan Christian Limhuko from Alotro Partners and country co-lead for the Clean Energy Investment Accelerator, or CEIA Philippines. Alongside my CEIA colleagues, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the online knowledge sharing on the Green Energy Option Program and corporate decarbonization strategies. So good morning po, and thank you for being here today. So the main goal for this morning is to bring together market players, especially corporates and policymakers, to discuss how businesses can increase clean energy utilization in their operations by disseminating the lessons we have learned so far in dialogues and convenings organized by the CEIA. So this event will be a venue to share insights on the GEOP implementation and corporate decarbonization strategies to empower businesses with practical guidance, foster a community of sustainability leaders committed to combating climate change, and accelerate the clean energy transition. Now, before we also proceed, I would just also like to inform everyone that the Q&A box is there. If anytime during the presentations you have any questions or comments, feel free to utilize the Q&A box or just send us a message in the chat box as well, and we'll try to answer your questions and your queries during the Q&A portion of the program. So without further ado, and to give us further context and to also kickstart the presentations, please welcome my colleague, Miss Alni Demoral. Alni, I turn over the virtual floor to you.
Ivan. Good morning, colleagues. As Ivan mentioned, the main goal of this event is to convene market players, including corporates and policymakers, to discuss strategies for increasing clean energy utilization in businesses, disseminate lessons learned from GEOP, and also provide practical guidance on the corporate decarbonization to foster communities of sustainability leaders and accelerate the clean energy transition. So next slide, please. So quickly about CEIA, the Clean Energy Investment Accelerator is a public-private partnership focused on addressing barriers on clean energy adoptions in commercial and industrial sectors in emerging markets such as Vietnam, Indonesia, and of course the Philippines. It is led by World Resources Institute, Alotro Partners in the U.S. National Renewable Energy Laboratory. The CEIA works with local and regional staff to support country-based efforts on corporate decarbonization. So our aim is to collaborate with large energy purchasers to drive demand for clean energy and work with government to strengthen policy frameworks and develop clean energy projects. By bridging the gaps between international commitments and local market transformation, the CEIA brings together private sectors, public sectors, and utility partners to facilitate clean energy procurement and investment among energy users. Next slide, please.
Oops, I think Sam was able to dropped off, Alni, but allow me to share my screen. Let me just okay. This is where your next slide is, right? I think your microphone sounds a bit garbled, Alni. Can you try to speak?
It's better now?
Yeah, better.
So yeah, we have exciting agenda lined up for today with insightful sessions and esteemed presenters. So without further ado, let me dive into today's agenda. First up, we have a session on corporate decarbonization strategies presented by Mr. Gabriel Silan, Clean Energy Analyst from the World Resources Institute. Next, we will delve into lessons learned from the GEOP or Green Energy Option Program, we have a privilege of hearing from Mr. Ivan Limhuko, the Program Manager of Alutro Partners and the Philippines co-lead of the Clean Energy Investment Accelerator. Following that, we have an intriguing session on next step for corporate decarbonization, preliminary thinking on innovative procurement by Ms. Nadine Samantha Valderrama, the Southeast Asia Program Manager of Alutro Partners. Then we will proceed to the Q&A session where you will be having the opportunity to ask our esteemed speakers any questions that you may have. And finally, we will conclude today's event with a wrap-up and closing remarks by the CEIA team. But before we dive into the insightful presentations lined up, it is essential to set up the context of our discussion just to give some background onto why it is relevant to discuss this topic. So next slide, please. Yeah. So the cost of electricity plays a significant role in shaping the business landscape of any country. And in the case of the Philippines, a notable observation is that it ranks fourth in Asia, following the countries like Japan, Singapore, and Hong Kong, especially on the electricity price for business use. This position this positioning has implications for businesses operating within the country, as it directly impacts their operational costs and competitiveness. In addition, when compared to other Asian nations, the higher electricity prices in the Philippines can have a wider implication, affecting the country's attractiveness to foreign investors looking to establish or expand their operations. The high electricity prices increase the overall cost of doing business, reducing profit margins and limiting growth opportunities. In comparison to other Asian countries, the higher electricity prices make Philippine businesses less competitive in international markets, as they struggle to offer competitive pricing. And aside from that, the high electricity price can act as a deterrent to foreign investors that are considering an expansion of their operations in the Philippines. Foreign investors may offer countries with lower electricity rates, like Indonesia or Vietnam. And this impacts the inflow of foreign direct investment and hinders our country's economic growth. Next slide, please. So high reliance on imported fossil fuel is a significant factor that contributes to the high electricity prices in the Philippines. While on the other end of the spectrum, there is an increasing demand for global and national corporates for renewable energy, driven by their adoption of 100% renewable energy goals and commitment to net zero. These goals and initiatives align with a broader concept of science-based targets, which aims to encourage commercial and industrial companies to establish clear pathways towards decarbonization. This growing demand for renewable energy and adoption for science-based targets are reflected in the increased participations of businesses in various platforms and initiatives. Organizations are joining movements like the Science Based Targets Initiative, RE100, and the Clean Energy Buyers Alliance to demonstrate their commitment to sustainability and drive the transition to clean energy sources. The increased membership and participation in these platforms and initiatives highlights the growing recognition among businesses of the importance of transitioning to renewable energy and setting science-based targets. This collective effort not only contributes to the decarbonization of corporate operations, but also promotes the development and expansion of renewable energy infrastructure globally. So later, we're actually going to have Gab's presentations, which sums up the valuable insights on the strategies that corporations can adapt to drive decarbonization efforts, including the RS payment options available to CNI companies in the Philippines, among others. So next slide, please. Yeah. The Green Energy Option Program presents valuable opportunities for electricity end users with a demand of 100 kilowatts and above to directly purchase 100% renewable energy from renewable sources. And this voluntary policy mechanism enables businesses and consumers to choose renewable energy sources as their primary source of electricity. The GEOP empowers end users to make a conscious decision to support and promote the development of renewable energy. So by opting for the program, businesses and consumers can play an active role in reducing greenhouse gas emissions and contributing to the transition to a more sustainable future. However, while GEOP presents an opportunity for businesses to directly purchase 100% renewable energy, it also faces certain challenges that hinder its implementation and effectiveness. So later, Mr. Limhuko Ivan will enlighten us about the status and existing challenges of GEOP implementation in the Philippines. Next slide, please. So to end this context setting, I would like to impart that accelerating the transition to renewable energy by addressing implementation challenges is really crucial as industry ranks among the highest greenhouse gas emitters globally alongside power and transport sectors, creating an opportunity for significant emission reduction. Corporations are increasingly aware of the impact of their operations on the attainment of global emission reduction targets. However, corporate adoption of renewable energy still faces challenges that hinders or slow down its uptake. Overcoming these challenges is crucial to accelerate the use of renewable energy in the corporate sector and achieve substantial emission reduction. So I will not keep you waiting any longer. Let me give the floor back to Ivan to keep the presentation rolling. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alni, for those context setting slides. So it's really quite useful as we go along these discussions this morning that provided us, a background on why we're doing this and what really is the need, the crucial need to implement these strategies, as well as, imparting the lessons and insights that the CEIA has learned throughout our previous convenings, our dialogues with relevant market stakeholders. So yeah, as we move on to the next presenter here to discuss the corporate decarbonization strategies that are available to the corporates. Please give a virtual round of applause to Mr. Gabriel Silan from the World Resources Institute. Gabs, I give the floor to you.
Thanks, Ivan. Thanks, Alden. Can you guys hear me well? Some stuff.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. So good morning, partners and colleagues. I am Gabriel Gabsilan, Clean Energy Analyst of WRI and the Clean Energy Investment Accelerator. And today I'll be sharing our progress in preparing a energy system decarbonization guide for commercial and industrial companies in the Philippines. And I would like to use this opportunity to get your feedback as we continue to develop this guide and support corporate decarbonization efforts in the region. So in this slide, I'm showing the flow of my presentation. I'll be discussing the objectives of this guide, the overall context on why we're preparing this, the energy system decarbonization strategies for corporates in the Philippines, and the renewable energy procurement options available in the country. I'll also be showing the flow chart for assessing energy system decarbonization pathways. So this energy system decarbonization guide will provide commercial industrial companies operating in the Philippines with information on how to reduce their greenhouse gases emissions and decarbonize their operations specifically through the procurement of renewable energy or RE solutions. RE resources such as solar and wind power do not produce greenhouse gases, and using these low carbon technology solutions can help companies reduce emissions, reduce their environmental impact, and help take climate action. So next slide, please. So corporations globally have been setting science-based targets to reduce GHG emissions and demonstrate sustainability commitments to consumers and investors. 100% RE goals, such as through the RE100 initiative, and net zero emission reduction targets all relate to the overall concept of science-based targets aimed at encouraging CNI companies set a clear path towards decarbonization. Because the energy sector is the main driver of climate change, the increased use of RE alongside energy efficiency measures and clean heat solutions are important facets to science-based targets. So setting science-based targets are good for the planet and businesses. They allow companies to strengthen their brand reputation, future-proof their growth, save money, spur innovation, reduce regulatory exposure, and gain a competitive advantage over their peers. As Alni mentioned, increased participation in science-based target movements is demonstrated by growing membership in platforms such as the SPTI, RE100, and the Clean Energy Buyers Alliance. Next slide, please. Uh, in this slide, I am showing the chart which better shows the emissions of corporates. Corporate emissions come from a variety of sources which are grouped into scopes. So scope 1 emissions are emissions from owned or operated assets. For example, the fumes of tailpipes of companies' fleet of vehicles. While scope 2 are the emissions from purchased energy. While scope 3 emissions are the downstream activities of companies from everything else, from suppliers, distributors, and product use. Next slide, please. In this slide, I am showing the three major decarbonization strategies for corporates. Excuse me for a moment. So corporate decarbonization pathways for Asia-based companies with Scope 2 emissions involve a strategic and systematic approach to reduce GHG emission associated with the purchased electricity, heat, or steam consumed in the operation. This includes both direct emissions from on-site consumption of fossil fuels, or Scope 1, and the purchased electricity, heat, or steam, or Scope 2. The three main categories to decarbonize energy-related emissions are through energy efficiency improvements, industrial heat decarbonization, and transitioning to RE, which are shown here. On energy efficiency improvements, enhancing energy efficiency is a crucial step in decarbonization. By implementing energy-saving measures and technologies such as upgrading equipment, optimizing processes, and improving insulation, or adopting energy-efficient lighting and heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, companies and corporates can reduce their energy consumption while consequently reducing their emissions. I'm showing in this slide the various rules which institutionalizes policies on energy and efficiency and conservation in the Philippines. The Act of 2019, along with the Memorandum Circular 2020-0501, requires corporates with annual energy consumption above 500,000 kilowatt hours per year to integrate energy management system concepts, principles, and practices into their business operations and submit annual energy efficiency and conservation report. This act also requires designated establishments to have a certified energy conservation officer and certified energy managers. To help corporates in the Philippines jumpstart their process, they can reach out to energy service companies, or ESCOs, to learn more about energy efficiency projects. ESCOs are Department of Energy certified organizations that offer multi-technology services, goods to support developing and designing energy efficiency projects that result in guaranteed energy savings and optimal performance. ESCOs offer energy supply management, energy financing, technical and engineering expertise, and consultancy uh, to provide savings. Another strategy to reduce emissions is through industrial heat decarbonization. Shifting away from direct fuel combustion in industrial heating processes is an effective strategy to decrease energy-related emissions and promote decarbonization. By substituting conventional fossil fuel boilers with cleaner heat options like biomass boilers, solar thermal heaters, heat pumps, or waste heat recovery systems, companies can significantly reduce their reliance on fossil fuels and minimize direct emissions. Industrial heat generation typically involves burning fossil fuels such as coal, diesel, and LPG. The CEIA is currently developing a comprehensive guide on clean heat, designated to provide businesses with essential knowledge and understanding needed and well-informed choices when considering the implementation of clean heat solutions for industrial and commercial heating needs. But the focus of this guide is really the transition to renewable energy, as shifting to renewable energy is a significant pathway to decarbonize energy-related emission. This can be achieved by procuring RE from the grid or installing on-site RE generation systems such as solar panels and wind turbines. Before I proceed to the next slide, I would just like to emphasize that renewable energy in the Philippines is already cost competitive, if not more affordable, compared to fossil-based energy. The low cost of RE is demonstrated by the price cap for the upcoming green energy auction. So for ground-mounted solar, it's 4.4 pesos per kilowatt hour. For rooftop solar, it's 4.87 pesos per kilowatt hour. And for onshore, it's 5.8 pesos per kilowatt hour. In comparison, the current average annual electricity rate of Meralco, the country's largest distribution utility, which sources at least 95% of its electricity from fossil fuels, is at 6.99 pesos per kilowatt hour. And the Meralco generation rate for June of this year is going to be at 7.25 pesos per kilowatt hour. So as we can see here, as demonstrated by the auctions, RE is already cheaper than fossil fuel energy generation. So next slide, please. This section provides an in-depth information on the RE procurement options available to CNI companies in the Philippines. So we've laid it out into four major procurement options, which is on-site solar for self-consumption, on-site solar with net metering, distributed energy resource license on-site solar, and off-site power wheeling. Um, uh, so for on-site solar for self-consumption, this is relevant for all customers with sufficient open space, rooftop space, and satisfactory roof infrastructure. So if your facility, if you don't need to replace your roof in the next 15, 20 years, this would be a good option to procure renewable energy and cheaper, reduce operation costs. You can also have your on-site solar do net metering, which can result in additional cost savings. But this is only limited to rooftop solar installations smaller than 100 kilowatts. There's a new rule with the DOE, which allows PV systems above 100 kilowatt to export to the grid for additional cost savings. And as discussed by Almi on offsite power wheeling, we already have the Green Energy Option Program for companies with peak demand of over 100 kilowatt, monthly peak demand of 100 kilowatt, to purchase renewable energy from offsite sources. Next slide, please. So the net metering and distributed RE resource rules allows companies to export excess electricity generated to the grid. Exporting excess electricity may help offset the cost of on-site solar installations. Um, mm, so how this works is that electricity sold back to the grid is banked as credits on the customer's bills and can be used to offset the electricity purchase from the distribution utility the following months. Uh, as one of the projects of Allotrope, we've seen that 100 kilowatt installation in a school in Batangas, uh, they have offset all their electricity use in 2021 due to COVID, and they were exporting their uh, excess generation to the grid. So they were able to pay for I believe 5 months of uh, electricity costs at no charge due to the banked uh, bank electricity credits. So this table shows the export compensation for the net metering and the DER project. So for DER, it is limited to you can only export 30% of your capacity. And while in the net metering, you can export as much as 100 kilowatts. The bank credits would be equivalent to 100% of the blended generation rate for net metering. As a sample compensation, based on Meralco generation rates, this would be around 6.55 to 8.13 pesos per kilowatt hour. While if you're going to be exporting energy through DER facilities, depending on the size, this will only be 70%, 75% of the blended generation rate or 60%. So this may be as low as 3.93 pesos per kilowatt hour to 6.10 pesos per kilowatt hour. Next slide, please. So there are two main financing options for customers to consider when procuring on-site RE systems: turnkey purchases or third-party finance structure. Each option has its own pros and cons, and depending on the customer's preference and financial situation. So for turnkey purchase, on-site solar, on-site RE systems can be purchased directly through turnkey purchases, which the customer buys the system outright and owns the assets. This is also known as CapEx model. So customers with existing lines of credit may also be eligible to a loan to purchase the RE system. Next slide, please. While in a third-party finance structure, customers that prefer not to self-finance under a turnkey model can work with RE developers to utilize a third-party financing structure. These arrangements are typically include either an explicit lease agreement or a PPA. These are also known as OPEX contracts, solar as a service, or own operate systems. Under a third-party finance structure, a customer does not own the RE asset directly. Instead, the RE developer finances a system and owns and operates the assets for the lifetime of the contract. Leasing contracts with RE developers may vary, but are typically between 7 to 25 years. And in some cases, a customer can have a lease-to-own option at the end of the contract, or also known as a build, own, operate, transfer contract. In a third-party finance arrangement, the customer could pay for a predetermined or fixed amount corresponding to the electricity production of the system owner, or they may also pay have an arrangement where it's a certain percentage lower than the generation rate or the electricity rate of the customer from the distribution utility. Next slide, please. So in this slide, we summarize the characteristics of the turnkey and third-party finance structures. If your company is interested in purchasing or leasing solar rooftop systems. And next slide, please. In this slide, we're showing the two policy provisions available for offsite power wheeling. In the Philippines, we have the Retail Competition and Open Access, or RCOA, that allows contestable customers with a monthly peak demand greater than 500 kilowatt to directly transact with a retail electricity supplier to supply their electricity needs. This includes the option to purchase electricity from renewable sources. The second and newer option is the Green Energy Program, Green Energy Option Program, which allows qualified customers or end users with a monthly peak demand greater than 100 kilowatt to transact with licensed renewable energy suppliers to source 100% RE. So as mentioned earlier, the main advantages of these two programs is that it allows the company to purchase electricity uh, and negotiate directly with the RES to purchase electricity at a lower rate than buying from the incumbent utility. Next slide, please. So here I'm showing the structure of an offsite power renewable power procurement under the Green Energy Option of Program. So in talking to various renewable energy suppliers, they indicated there are various payment schemes available under GEOP. One is a fixed energy rate for the duration of the contract, where the RE supplier offers a fixed rate for customers' 24/7 electricity use. Fixed discount rate from the rate of the DU, where the renewable energy suppliers offers their electricity pegged at a price, discounted price from the rate of the distribution utility. And for more advanced customers, they can also do market-based pricing, which pegs the price of the electricity to the spot market. Next slide, please. So in this slide, we're showing a portion of the flowchart we've prepared for corporates and facilities to assess which decarbonization pathway works for their company. So if your company uh, owns a facility and you have a demand greater than 500 kilowatt, you can switch to a retail electricity supplier under ARCOA offering 100% RE. And if your demand is only between 100 to 500 kilowatts, you can switch to GEO. I didn't include it here, but in the guide we're preparing, where we also laid out the switch, the process to switch to the Green Energy Option Program. And if your demand is lower than 100 kilowatts, you can also explore investing in or leasing on-site solar PV systems. On the other hand, if your company does not own the facility and your facility demand is above 100 kilowatt, the CEIA can help you engage facility owners for them to participate in GEOP and ERCOA in your stead. So in conclusion, while energy system decarbonization is not necessarily a quick overnight change, it is by no means insurmountable for companies just starting their decarbonization journey. The first step includes optimizing energy efficiency and electrifying processes where there is strong dependence on fossil fuel combustion. And for companies ready to procure RE to further reduce their remaining emissions, there are a number of RE procurement options available in the Philippines to start sourcing RE and reap the benefits, whether it's brand reputation, progress towards their decarbonization targets, operational cost savings, or simply to do their part in fighting the fight to climate change. So thank you again for this opportunity to present the guide we are developing. On to you, Ivan.
Thank you so much, Gabs. Yeah, and definitely totally agree with you. Really, the key to starting this is really doing that first step. And maybe in our case, one of our one of our first steps is to really disseminate this. And I believe we are also already doing this. We're finalizing this corporate decarbonization strategies knowledge product, and our aim is to really disseminate this to the main target audience, which would be the Philippine corporates, as well as the policymakers, in order for them to really understand the gaps in the market, the possible solutions that are available as well for corporate decarbonization. So I believe that after this event, we can already share with the participants to this event so that they are able also to access the said document. So yeah, we'll just send a separate email, an email blast to the participants to share this corporate decarbonization strategy that the CEIA has prepared. So yeah, and maybe the next portion of the program is I would be also discussing another part, which is also part of the corporate decarbonization strategies that are available to the CNI players. So Sam, if you please share your screen, full screen na lang please. Okay, I think hindi pa siya naka full screen, Sam, sorry. Oops. It's not yet on full screen, Sam, sorry.
Hold on, Ivan, let me fix it.
Oh, no worries. So while we're waiting for the slides, we would just like to remind everyone that please, anytime during the program or the presentations, kindly use the question and answer box to type in your questions. Or if not questions, even though they're just comments or feedback from the audience, please feel free to send them over and for us to check it out and hopefully get back to you and answer them, address them during the Q&A portion of the program.
Can you see it now, Ivan?
Yes, but I'm still seeing the PowerPoint uh, layout, and it's not the full screen one. Uh, Let me maybe Gabs could try to uh, share the screen maybe for full screen. Let me just for a while, ladies and gentlemen. Just fixing
Oh,
the. It's
is
still
it?
on. It's still on the PowerPoint layout. Sam, sorry. I could also share it from my end. Let me just uh, there you go. So can anyone can you see my screen now? Is it okay?
Yes, we can see it, Ivan.
Thank you so much. Okay, so again, good morning, everyone. My name is Ivan Limpuco from Alotro Partners and co-country lead for the Clean Energy Investment Accelerator Philippines. And I will be discussing the highlights of one of our knowledge products that we have developed containing the lessons and findings that CEIA has gathered through our dialogues with relevant stakeholders on the Green Energy Option Program or the GEOP. We hope to use this convening and this knowledge product as a way to share what we have learned and discuss solutions on how we can increase GEOP uptake as informed by different engagements with relevant market players. Um, oops. There you go. Next slide, please, Gabs. Thank you. So yeah, as I think Gabs has also presented this slide earlier, but just to give a quick context, an increasing number of companies in the Philippines and worldwide have set internal targets to work toward a net zero emission value chain. The RE100 coalition alone has over 370 global businesses as members, with a collective demand of 385 terawatt hours per year of renewable electricity, or over 5 times the annual electricity consumption of the Philippines. 73 of these RE100 companies are currently operating in the country. Collectively, these companies represent a total demand of 748 gigawatt hours, equivalent to over 500 megawatts of RE demand. Next slide, please. So this shows that global and local companies. Next slide, please, Gabs. Thank you. So this shows that global and local companies are not just committing, but are really serious with 100% RE. So as supply chain partners of these global brands, which within themselves have commitments to shareholders and their customers, local companies are really responding to the challenge because there's competition not just in the Philippines, but also outside of the country. Next slide, please. Various on renewable energy procurement, as Gabs has already discussed earlier as well, are available to help these companies achieve their sustainability goals and targets. So there are 2 existing retail choice mechanisms in the country to date that provide the opportunity for customers to directly procure renewable energy. So that is the Retail Competition and Open Access, or RCOA, and the Green Energy Option Program, or the GEOP. Through RCOA, a portion of electricity may be generated from renewable energy sources. This is only applicable to contestable customers or those end users with monthly peak demand greater than 500 kilowatts. Next slide, please. Meanwhile, the recently implemented and long-awaited GEOP provides opportunities for these companies or customers to purchase 100% RE through renewable energy suppliers, or RES as we call them, to fulfill their power needs. It is available to all electricity end users with an average peak demand of 100 kilowatts and above. The GEOP expands the power of choice to a wider set of consumers beyond those covered by the RCOA, allowing consumers to potentially benefit from electricity cost savings while unlocking brand reputation gains derived from the associated sustainability claims. Next slide, please. So the GEOP gives customers the complete discretion to part ways with their incumbent distribution utility, or DU, and look for other RE sources to achieve potentially lower prices. Directly transacting with GEOP renewable energy suppliers allows customers to negotiate how much they will be paying for the generation rate and other RES charges. Interviews with various stakeholders conducted by the CEIA reveal that power rates offered under the GEOP are 5 to 12% lower than the prevailing generation rates of DUs and provide at least 10% cost savings to end users. So that's another important term there, cost savings. If you proceed to the next slide. Because achieving RE targets is not only about decarbonization goals, but also about cost savings. So in the Philippines, RE is already cost competitive, as Gabs mentioned, if not more affordable compared to other sources of energy, including those sourced from fossil fuels. This is based on what you're seeing on your screens, which are data comparing electricity prices of Meralco, the wholesale electricity spot market, or the WESM, and renewable energy suppliers with a significant RE portfolio during the second quarter of 2022. In general, the use of RE has become an economically attractive and convenient option in the country. Lower retail rates in combination with the opportunity to contractually lock in fixed energy rates or fixed discounts such as what is available through the GEOP allows customers to acquire immediate cost savings by switching to renewable energy. Through CEIA's direct engagement with a number of these renewable energy suppliers, they have confirmed that they are able to offer generation rates lower than those being charged by the distribution utilities, which allows customers to achieve cost savings from the moment they switch to renewable energy under the GEOP. Next slide, please. But despite these benefits that come with the GEOP, barriers are still present that hinder retail market growth. It has been observed that GEOP is beset by two main challenges: the low uptake of GEOP and the lack of available RE supply to meet the growing demand for this mechanism. As of January 2023, only 213 end users have shifted to GEOP with a peak demand of 62 megawatts. Based on data from the IMAP, the ARCOA and GEOP have only met 44% of the country's C&I electricity demand. Reduced generation requirements are seen as a main factor behind these low numbers. In terms of supply deficiency, GEOP RE suppliers indicated that they lack the RE supply to service more customers, which proves to be a growing concern. That this is leading to higher GEOP contract prices, which kind of defeats the purpose of the policy in providing cheaper sources of electricity to consumers. Next slide, please. So how, next slide, please, Gabs. So how are these challenges being addressed, you might ask? In terms of finding solutions for limited retail market participation, the Department of Energy and the Energy Regulatory Commission have assured that various policies are already being drafted, studied, and implemented to increase end user choice. These include net metering enhancements, allowing distributed energy resources or DERs to export energy, implementing retail aggregation, establishing green lease policies, and better monitoring of renewable energy suppliers through a RES scorecards. Another pressing issue with the current design of the GEOP is that renewable energy certificates or RECs generated from facilities under GEOP contracts are attributed to the distribution utilities, which poses double counting risks. As such, companies cannot claim the RECs from its use of RE under the GEOP because double counting does not comply with RE 100 standards. So this double counting risk makes it hard for the end user to certify their use of the green power. This in turn has led to global corporates hesitating to use GEOP in their carbon accounting. So to address this, the DOE is also planning to issue a policy opening the renewable energy market to voluntary participation, thus allowing corporates to trade renewable energy certificates or RECs. Next slide, please. Now, to ensure that GEOP remains an economical and viable choice for end users, increasing the RE supply is also critical in ensuring retail choice expansion and participation. Policymakers should ensure that there is sufficient RE supply to meet the growing demand for the program. This can be done by providing mechanisms for GEOP suppliers to better locate and reach out to qualified GEOP end users, ultimately allowing these suppliers to better plan their RE transition. Additionally, the DOE is already reconsidering the GEOP's 24/7 RE power requirement in order to open the program to more RE suppliers, specifically those developing and operating solar and wind plants. This requirement has resulted in concentrated participation amongst 7 RES companies only. by allowing non-renewables generation. Um, this can address the intermittency issue, as well as increase market participation and increase competition. The DOE is also exploring programs, we believe, to further increase RE supply, such as allowing aggregation models, promoting the use of rooftop solar, easing registration requirements for rooftop solar, and enabling peer-to-peer RE trading. So next slide, please. So based on these insights that the CEIA has gathered through dialogues with C&I customers, GEOP licensed RES companies, and other stakeholders among the private sector, nonprofits, and government officials, we came up with the following recommendations to allow more customers to enjoy the benefits of renewable energy through the GEOP. Number one, the Philippines should further accelerate the deployment of additional RE to ensure adequate RE supply across the country. So scaling the use of new technologies as well, such as the battery energy storage systems, should also be prioritized to enhance reliability and address the intermittency of quick-to-deploy RE technologies like the solar and wind plants. Government and public institutions and the private sector can work together to develop robust RE project pipelines to cover this growing energy demand. Number two, the existing retail choice framework in the Philippines currently limits companies' options to directly procure RE due to energy demand threshold limitations and facility ownership issues. A policy supporting green leases will allow multinational corporations with businesses in the Philippines that rent their facilities, like these mall tenants and these business process outsourcing centers or BPOs, to be able to participate in the GEOP, thus expanding the GEOP customer pool in the country and accelerating the uptake of GEOP overall. And number three, giving public access to readily available data on the services offered by the GEOP renewable energy suppliers, including their price range, will increase the demand to participate in the retail renewable energy market. Currently, making the list of qualified GEOP end users accessible to all suppliers will allow these RES to reach out and offer their products and services and strategize on expanding their business, ultimately leading to increased RE supply for the GEOP market. So I think that was my last slide. So thank you so much. And again, as we have mentioned, we have already published this GEOP lessons learned document, and that we can also share this to the participants this morning or in the coming days for you to be able to also look at the document and see for yourself the knowledge product that we have developed. Again, thank you so much for listening. So at this juncture, we can now proceed to the next part of our program, which is the next steps for corporate decarbonization, a preliminary thinking on innovative procurement, to be presented by Ms. Nadine Samantha Valderrama, Southeast Asia Program Manager for Alotro Partners and for CEIA. So let me just share my screen for her presentation for a while. There you go. So Sam, the virtual floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ivan. So I would also like to today a few points on how the Clean Energy Investment Accelerator intends to take the next steps for corporate decarbonization. So generally, the CEIA amplifies the voice of the corporates as key players in the country's energy transition. And that really underscores the fact that there is a constant need to provide a feedback mechanism between the government as implementers of policies and corporates as valuable players in the process. Next slide, please. So the CEIA has several initiatives, but for the purpose of this presentation, we have listed down specific steps for strategy or policy. Now, for on-site solar, we know that several companies are currently exploring how they can start their own projects. And we recognize that there is quite a number of challenges in the process. And we intend to resolve these challenges through continuous coordination of the concerns of corporates to the government on applications and requirements for net metering and DERs. And of course, through consultation with developers and corporates on the implementation of projects. Next slide, please. Now, for retail aggregation, which is an emerging strategy among corporates, the CEIA will continue to monitor and communicate with the ERC in its implementation. We will also conduct series of consultation with corporates to explore how to ease and pursue partnerships and to determine challenges and difficulties. Next slide, please. In several convenings organized by the CEIA, there have been recurring discussions on the concerns of corporates on the implementation of the retail competition in open access and green energy option program. So for off-site power procurement, we intend to continuously provide a platform for companies to voice out their concerns on the implementation of the ARCOA and GEOP until the government considers our recommendations. Next slide, please. Now, another emerging strategy is the green leasing or the green lease. And currently, there is no framework yet in the Philippines for this mechanism. And of course, in the CEIA, we are pushing for the government to explore this mechanism. We intend to conduct data gathering from landlord and corporates, and of course, examine case studies that can be adopted and implemented in the country. And of course, later on, provide inputs to the government to ease the creation of the framework and the clear directions, of course, for this mechanism. Next slide, please. Now, what I've shared with you are a few of the undertakings that we are doing and will continue doing to support corporates on their decarbonization strategies. And of course, to strengthen this, we will also continue to work with the government in increasing RE supply to meet current demands. And we will continue to provide inputs on new and current RE policies and maintain partnership with companies to ensure that platform is provided for them to voice out their policy concerns and recommendations. And we hope that we can work with you. We can work with all of you in our current and future undertakings. Once again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Sam, for laying out the potential next steps that the CEIA will be doing as well in coordination with these relevant stakeholders that we're engaging with. So I think that was also important so that we are able to keep track of the progress and the updates of these different moving pieces as well. So I think at this juncture, we can now proceed with the Q&A portion of the program, and this can be also facilitated by Alni. So I may also request the speakers to also please have their to turn on their cameras for this portion. And then also, if ever there are any questions, please from the audience, we kindly request that you put it in the Q&A box or the chat box anytime. So Alni, turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Ivan. So yeah, very much interesting and insightful presentations from our presenters, from our speakers, and yeah, for sure, if audience have questions related to the slides that were presented earlier, as Ivan mentioned, just please raise your virtual hand or type your questions in the chat box, and yeah, we'll do our best to cover as many questions, answer as many questions as possible. But while we wait for our audience for their questions, Let me just kickstart the session by asking some of the questions of mine from previous presentation. So yeah, I hope I can start with Gabs. On your presentation on corporate decarbonization strategy, I just want to ask further, aside from the decision factors that were presented in the flow chart for assessment of energy system decarbonization pathways, what do you think are some other factors to be considered when selecting between the available RE procurement options in the Philippines? You have mentioned four, the on-site solar for self-consumption, the on-site solar with net metering, DER, license on on-site solars, and off-site power wheeling. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it will also help, yeah, corporates decide which of this might be more applicable to their organization.
Okay. Thanks, Alni. So, along the four, there's also a fifth option, which I didn't include in my presentation, which is the purchase of renewable energy credits or RECs. Uh, uh, I did not put this as an option, as currently under the RE law and programs under the law, such as GEOP and net metering, the RECs produced by net metering facilities goes to the distribution utilities. And under GEOP, if you contract with renewable energy suppliers, the RECs would go to the distribution utility where the facility is located. So, uh, in fact, the international IREX left the country to avoid these double counting risks, as RECs in the Philippines are currently being used to track compliance under the renewable portfolio standard. So that's one consideration. So if your company is thinking about purchasing RECs, uh, I suggest you maybe reach out to CEIA and other REC registries to discuss current issues in the REC market in the country. Although the Department of Energy has stated that they are on their way to developing the voluntary REC market in the Philippines, we haven't seen much progress on that end. But once that's available, we'll be sure to inform you and our other partners. Thanks, Alni.
Helps. So, yeah, I think a Rex will definitely be a good option, good options as well to procure RE, and hopefully, as Steph mentioned, I will have more movement from the policymakers in that front, and yeah, it will definitely facilitate and put a value on RE deployments, right, for corporate. Yeah, for the panelists also, if you have like other insights to any questions, just feel free to, jump in. So yeah, and I think this he's also like included in Ivan's presentations earlier. But yeah, what to both of you, Gabs and Ivan, what do you think are some factors to be considered when selecting the uh, sorry, yeah, it's more on about the challenges that often encountered by companies that are planning to procure RE and some working solutions. I know Ivan presented earlier some options like net metering enhancement, the DER that ERC just recently released, retail aggregation, green lease, which Sam has also mentioned in her presentation, RES scorecards and voluntary RE market participation, which is more on what Gabs mentioned earlier about REX. What do you consider among these options are the low hanging fruits given their current status of implementation in the Philippines?
Yeah, thank you, Alni. So yeah, definitely the low-hanging fruits here are those that have already have established frameworks in the Philippines. I know that we have some attendees also here from Department of Energy. So let me know if these are accurate, or if you have other comments as well. Feel free to type it in the chat box. But yes, net metering enhancements definitely is one. The distributed energy resources as well. I know the retail aggregation. They have already somehow started with the works on this one with ERC. I think and then University of the Philippines and Meralco collaborating for this one. But at the I think the progress for this one is still quite slow, and there is yet to be done for this one. So it might be on the farther end of the list in terms of the low hanging fruit. Um, Included as well is the voluntary RE market, which I know we've talked to PEMC before as well, and they're saying that while this may be of great help to those that are looking at RECs as part of their compliance, this could still take a long time in order for this one to manifest. But I think the DOE is already starting to look at it now. And also, especially green leases as well, as Sam has mentioned, there's still no framework yet here in the Philippines, but the CEIA has already started to look at other successful case studies in other countries that could be applicable here in the Philippines. Because if we are able to do that, then green leases, as I've mentioned in my presentation earlier, would allow those facilities, those companies that are just renting to also directly procure renewable energy to comply with their sustainability goals and targets. The rest scorecards, this is also being looked into by the ERC. I'm just not sure with regards to the update for that one, but definitely the CEIA will continue to monitor all of these um, existing and upcoming policies so that we are able to equip ourselves and be ready to just to support the corporates that we are engaging with in terms of the progress of these policies. Back to you, Aldi.
Ivan. So what we have gathered from Ivan is that low hanging fruit would definitely be the debt metering enhancement and the DER, while policies that are being looked into by the government includes the retail aggregation, rest scorecards, voluntary RE market participation, whereas green lease has no framework yet. And so later on, under CEI initiatives, we are also looking into some working models from other countries and perhaps do some knowledge products related to this. And definitely CEIA will continue to uh, engage with corporate updating updating everyone about the updates for these policies, and yeah, help corporates and support them with their decarbonization targets.
And
Yeah.
I think
So
Gabs,
Another
Gal.
low-hanging fruit is conducting energy efficiency and conservation methods. Um, so yeah, one of the problems with that is that in talking to corporates is that they don't know how to structure the financing because you don't really you don't see any profit from doing EEC. You only see savings. So in that regard, I suggest you talk to the ESCOs. DOE has a file that contains all the registered ESCOs in the Philippines, and some of them can support your organization and company in structuring the financing to purchase EEC products and technologies.
Actually, ENC is also like considered as the first fuel, right? So definitely, like globally, there has already been some cost savings that is really attributed to doing energy efficiency strategies in a corporate. And yeah, I think pretty sure like at the moment it's really more on increasing awareness on the potential cost savings on ENC, and also like if corporates, especially with this new with this implementation of ENC app, there will be some requirements also to do emission reductions. I think that the metrics that is being considered now is more on emission reductions. So definitely good to engage with ESCOs as well for the future deployment in their facilities. Yeah, since now we are actually like talking about corporates, I would also ask Ivan this. So among the hundreds of stakeholders that you were able to engage, who would you identify as the main drivers that can accelerate the widespread adoption of GIF in the country?
Thank you, Alni. So yeah, as I mentioned, the CEIA since 2019, we have already started talking to a lot of these stakeholders. But for example, for the GEOP, the main drivers that could facilitate, the wider adoption of this one, I think I could identify three main drivers. So number one, that would be the corporates, most importantly, those corporates that aim to meet their clean energy demand and targets being set by their parent companies or their headquarters. The second one could be the group of those GOP RES as well, or GOP RE suppliers that want also their voices heard, so that they may expand their market, so that they may be able to relay to these potential GOP customers the information on their services, on their price range. And then I think the last one, also one important pillar, would be the government or the policymakers, in order for them that hope to achieve national targets as well as net zero and climate ambitions. So yeah, efforts that are focused in engaging with these three main drivers would really be crucial in not just implementing successfully or accelerating the widespread adoption of GOP, but also on the other policies that we have also identified that could also further the clean energy transition of the Philippines. Oops, I think your microphone.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with what you have said. Okay, fine. So yeah, let me just check the chat box for any questions. Yeah, perhaps. And also since I'm also checking the time. Okay. So perhaps this would be the last question for now. So yeah, I would like to address it to Sam. For the initiative on CEIA, are corporates aware of these initiatives, and should there are interest in our initiatives and partnering up with CEIA, how can they partner up with our organization?
Actually, in our previous convenings, we were able to gather around 200 plus companies. And as of date, we are still growing this number to ensure wider reach. And corporates can partner with us by simply letting us know on how we can be of help to you. And we'll be more than happy to include you as one of our partners. So please reach out to us.
Please reach to us if you have like interest into partnering with the CEIA initiative. So yeah.
And maybe just to add to what to that question also of Sam, I think that is why we are also doing convenings like this for further information dissemination. So because in our previous dialogues as well, we have also, and I think this was also mentioned by Gabs, that some corporates still do not know, or some entities also have limited knowledge. It turns out that they have limited knowledge on some of these policies that being implemented or being drafted. Like for example, the GOP. There are some DUs that have not yet that do not know that this policy exists. So we are trying to be as aggressive as possible in doing these kinds of convenings, in developing these knowledge products, so that we are able to share this and impart the lessons learned and the insights to more to the growing list, as Sam has mentioned, to the growing list of stakeholders that we are engaging in support of course, the clean energy transition of the country. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually hope this Q&A session could be longer so that we can add in more information. But yeah, thank you all for this engaging Q&A session. and it has been a remarkable opportunity to really delve into the topics that were covered in the presentation. So yeah, before I think we conclude, let me just summarize some of the key insights from the presentations earlier and also takeaways from today's discussion. So from Gab's presentations, we were able to learn about energy system decarbonization strategies for companies in the Philippines. Uh, Gabs reiterated that companies can focus on energy efficiency improvements to reduce their energy consumptions and also carbon footprint. Gabs also highlighted the industrial heat decarbonization methods as one of the other strategies that were being explored by companies, but bulk of Gab's presentations is on the adoption of renewable energy sources, particularly on the options such as on-site installations, their arrangements, PERs, and and offsite power wheeling. Gabs also added one other options, which is direct, uh, and hopefully sooner we can be able to have like stronger framework on how direct procurement can actually be done in the market. Last from Gab's presentations is on financing options for purchasing, which includes turnkey purchase and third-party finance lease, PPA, or rental. So from Ivan's presentation, Ivan reiterated the energy retail choice opportunities in the Philippines, and this includes a purchase power agreement via ARCOA and the GEOP. And Ivan mentioned that if we are to shift to GEOPs, corporates can actually have 5 to 12% power rates lower lower power rates than prevailing generation rates, resulting to at least 10% cost savings for end users. However, Ivan also mentioned that challenges in GEOP implementation still includes low uptake of the of GEOP and insufficient RE supply from suppliers. So to address these challenges, it is recommended that policymakers ensure an adequate RE supply to meet the growing GEOP demand and prioritize the construction of new RE plants and support innovations like green lease and enhance transparency in GEOP market. And in Sam's presentation, Sam provided an overview of initiatives being undertaken by CEIA in relation to corporate decarbonization, which includes on-site solar deployment, um, retail aggregation, off-site power procurement, and green lease. And Sam reiterated that should corporates be interested in partnering up with CEIA on their decarbonization strategies, please feel free to contact us uh, and our members. And yeah, I think that's all for the summary of our key takeaways. Thank you once again for your time and participation. And let me hand it back now to Ivan for final message and closing remarks.
Thank you, Almi. Yeah, I think those were very good points and a good summary. And we hope that this discussion was helpful, especially to the attendees, in really knowing about the options that they have, the options that they can benefit from. And as long as we are able to address the gaps in the market, as well as the gaps within these policies, within these decarbonization strategies, then we are well on our way to really supporting the C&I market, the corporates, the policymakers as well, in achieving the sustainability goals and targets of the country, as well as of our stakeholders. So we hope that we look forward to sharing these knowledge products with you. And at the same time, we also look forward to your feedback and your comments on how we can further improve these knowledge products. At the same time, we can also further improve the strategies that we're doing to cater to your needs and to cater to what kind of support that you require in order for you to achieve your goals and targets. So with that, thank you again so much for attending this online knowledge sharing session. And we hope to see everyone again soon in future convenings. Again, my name is Ivan Christian Limhuko, and alongside my CIA colleagues, we wish you a good day ahead, and thank you again so much for your time this morning. Thank you, everyone.